TGY TV, TGY TV, Tim. Anyways, Throwback Thursday. Today's picture is the picture that was actually at the end of last week's video. I had somebody email me and say, hey, why don't you talk about that Jeep that you sent, because it looked pretty cool. So, what I will do is talk about the Jeep, because it did look pretty cool. That Jeep was called Mad Cow. It was a 1994 Jeep Cherokee, 6-cylinder automatic. What had happened was on a Friday night, I used to do scrap cars and stuff, you know, we'd use them for derbies and enduros and all this stuff, so I used to get people giving me their cars or selling me their cars for cheap. So it was a Friday night, and this guy called me up and said, hey, I got this Jeep, it's got some parts you might want off it, whatever, or do whatever, it's got some good tires on it, I'll sell it to you for like $350. I was like, okay, cool. So I went and bought it, and instead of bringing it to the scrapyard the next day, I figured it's the weekend, this thing runs good, it's got some decent tires, let's see what it can do, we'll take it off-roading. So I got that Jeep, and I beat the hell out of it over the weekend, and I finally ended up killing it because this is Jeep number 1. The Jeep in question in the picture is actually Jeep number 2. So anyways, Jeep number 1, finally killed it because I was trying to jump it up off this hill, and it came down, I crushed the gas tank in. Then my brother-in-law Dave had to tow me back to the trailer and all this stuff because it just wouldn't run anymore. So I was like, you know what, these Jeep Cherokees take a pounding. So I brought that one into scrap on Monday, and then I hunted Kijiji. And for my American viewers, Kijiji's like Craigslist, but in Canada. So then I found another Jeep Cherokee. The guy wanted like $1,000 for it. I ended up walking away. I bought it for, I think it was around $400. And it ran and drove and stopped. And that's all it had to do because it was never going to see the road again. So I got it, and then I started modifying it. I cut the fenders all out. I got 35-inch tires. I made a Frankenstein suspension system. Like the rear end had an extra leaf in it out of a 1-ton Chevy pickup truck. And it actually, when we put that spring in and bolted it in, it actually gave it like a 6-inch lift in the rear. So then it sat all like weird in the back. I was like, shit. So my buddy had these parts from, he used to be into building 4x4s. So the front coils actually came out of a, I think it was a '79 Ford Bronco with 4-inch lift coil kit. So we didn't even unbolt the suspension or anything like that. We got like a 4-foot pry bar. We're like, twang, the fucking springs shoot out, and then we compress the springs, put the new springs in. So I ended up getting about 5 or 6 inches lift in the front. So then my brother-in-law Dave had some old 35s that were half bald, so I ended up having to carve them a little bit. And yeah, man, that thing never got stuck. It was $400 for whatever I paid for it. I think I spent like $30 in PVC pipe to make a snorkel. I got the tires for free. I got the suspension for free. And that rig would outwheel like pretty much anybody else's truck that was back there at that time. My truck never got stuck except for once. I was going through this thing, I hit this rut, and boom, I punched a tree. Well, the week before, I was towing somebody out, and it ripped my front bumper off, so I had no front bumper anymore. In this picture, I still have the bumper, but the following week, I had no more bumper, and it wouldn't start. It's like, shit. So the one guy gets his truck, and we're getting ready to tow it. I said, just give me one more minute. I looked down, and I realized when I hit the tree, it crushed in the fender, pinched the main wiring harness off that ran to the computer. So then I figured out which wires I had to attach back up, and boom, it fired back up. And I didn't get towed out. But there was another time, because my buddy was like, yeah, this is fun, I'm going to go find a truck. So my buddy Terry, he found a Nissan Pathfinder. We ended up getting it for like $250. And to get them to lift up was super easy in the front because their torsion bar is just 2 bolts. Got about 2-3 inches of lift out of the front end. We put some big ugly mudder tires underneath, and we went off-roading. Well, he gets stuck. He's like, Tim, can you push me out? I'm like, ah, okay. He thought I was just going to nose up to him and push him out. Nah, he was halfway through the mud pit, and I was out back. I just hammer on it, hit the back end of this Pathfinder, crushed it whole, back end in on it, back window exploded. Oh, it was funny as hell, but I got him out. But they were just scrap cars, right? It's amazing the fun you can have for like next to no money. So for $400 and like $30-40 in other parts, I rode that Jeep out back for months. I ended up selling it to a guy who was into Jeeps because I got busted for trespassing with it, and they told me I wasn't allowed on the property anymore. So I didn't trust myself owning it, because if I owned it, I would go out and play with it. So I ended up selling it off. But yeah, the Mad Cow, 2009 I believe it was, 35-inch tire, 6-inch lift. Just, it was a fun truck. It was the best $400 I ever spent. So anyways, YouTube, I'll see you guys again next week for another Throwback Thursday.